Today we are examining the riding of West Vancouver-Sunshine Coast-Sea to Sky country, famous for being the riding with the longest name in the House of Commons and also for being one of the most beautiful. Massive in its geographical footprint, the riding encompasses many hundreds of square kilometers, including the affluent urban area of West Vancouver, home to some of Canada's most expensive real estate. But also included in the riding are quaint coastal towns like Gibsons, made famous by the television program The Beachcombers. Squamish, Whistler, and Pemberton lie to the north. Hitting the campaign trail here begins with a ride aboard a BC ferry leaving from the iconic Horseshoe Bay. Let me see if I can give you an idea of the kind of challenges this riding poses to the candidates who are trying to visit all corners. Well, today, for example, we got on the ferry at Horseshoe Bay. Right now, we're about halfway along our journey. We're somewhere between Bowen Island and Gambier Island aboard the Queen of Surrey, and we're headed for Langdale. And once we get to Langdale, we've still got an hour's drive to get to Pender Harbour, and that's only a tip of the riding. When the ship docks, we hit the highway. Our destination is an all-candidates meeting in the Madeira Park area of Pender Harbour. It's about an hour's drive up the winding highway that runs alternately beside the ocean and through the forest. One of the candidates is waiting for us when we arrive. Ken, David Kincaid from CPAC.
Hey.
I thought Green Party candidates weren't allowed to drive cars, let alone German luxury cars.
You know, this is a huge riding. It's about 7 hours from one tip to the other. But we've converted this to run on vegetable oil.
So it is a green machine.
It is a green machine.
It's supposed to be an all-candidates meeting, but only 2 made the trip.
But I'd like to welcome today the 2 that did make it to our event is Ken Mellon and from the Green Party, and Larry Koopman from NDP. Thank you.
I grew up listening to those great speeches by Tommy Douglas and Roy Romano, and I was inspired. I was inspired about their ideals for social justice and that unwavering belief that a more equal society creates a stronger society that benefits everyone. That's the moral fabric of our party. That's what drives me. That's what drives our policy.
I was the mayor of Whistler for 6 years, from 2005 to 2011. I was the mayor during the Olympic and Paralympic Winter Games, arguably the most successful Winter and Paralympic Winter Games ever.
Why are you trying to fix, why did you leave Whistler to take on this greater challenge?
Well, we still remain in Whistler. My wife and family want to remain in Whistler. It's been our home for nearly 40 years. I decided to move. I had more to contribute, and I've been in local government for 15 years. At a certain point in time, you want to grow your horizons, and you realize as a local elected official that there are parts of the system that are seem immovable. How do we move that? And really, to get the success that we need for the future, we have to get all levels of government working together. And I was very frustrated, increasingly frustrated, at the lack of participation from the federal government. I found out about the Green Party. I'd been voting Green for some years. But then I met Elizabeth May, and I got really excited about the real opportunity to not just change government, but change the way government works. And it's specific to municipalities. How can the federal government work more productively with local communities to get things done?
So your experience as a local politician in Whistler was a springboard to federal politics. And do you have to change the way you play the game, or do you still bring that same approach to this contest that you use in Whistler?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and I'm not sure my answer would be the same after I get elected. My understanding is that it's not how the game is played, it's some of the rules. So the context is different, absolutely. We're dealing now with more international trade issues. We're dealing with climate change, which is there are things we can do on the ground in a community, But internationally, how does Canada rebuild its reputation and reclaim its position as a world leader on climate action? So the context is going to change, absolutely. I think the lessons I learned, the experience I gained as being mayor of Whistler and an Olympic mayor, which is really an extraordinary experience. I was an ambassador for Canada in both official languages. I gained a tremendous amount of experience working with all levels of government, building relationships with First Nations, with business on a level. So I worked with local businesses quite well in Whistler, but now I know, how does GE work?
Yeah.
How about some of these other big players? So great experience, and it's a perfect springboard to move into the federal realm.
Let's talk about expectations, because I know you wouldn't be running if you didn't expect to win, but you don't expect the Green Party to form government.
That's right.
That's correct, isn't it?
What we like to say is we're not out to form government, we're out to fix government. We know, actually, we're the best hope that Canadians have to change the way government works. For instance, we need a massive set of electoral reforms, not just to reclaim our democracy, not just to get rid of first past the post, our archaic electoral system. Only 3 developed countries in the world still have this archaic system: Canada, the US, and the UK. All the rest of the developed, progressive, successful countries in the world have coalition governments that spring from proportional representation electoral systems. But there's many more things that we can do for electoral reform to help, Elizabeth likes to say, rescue democracy from politics. We're not going to form government. We're going to work to fix it and be this point of intervention that can work collaboratively across party lines. So it's much easier for the Green Party to work with either the Liberal Party or the NDP than it is for those 2 parties to work together who have decades, if not centuries, of antagonism.
And so does that presuppose a minority government on the 20th of October in order for you to make a contributing difference?
It does. That's the good news right now. I think if there was one thing that Harper gave us that was positive, it is the realization that he was a bad government, and now Canadians are looking for an alternative. And it is a it's an honest three-way race across nationally, but in some ridings here in BC, it's a 4-way race. In this riding, it's a 4-way race. I understand on Vancouver Island, it's a 2-way race between the Greens and the NDP. But in this riding, we have a 4-way race, and I'm running to win.
Ken makes the perfect argument why to elect a new Democratic Party right now. And the reason is simply because voting Green in this election is not going to stop Stephen Harper.
Larry Koopman represents the NDP. This is his first foray into politics.
Very concerned about climate change, environmental protection, and what kind of world that we will be leaving to our children and future generations. This is something that I'm passionately concerned about, as I know many members of the party, many MPs that I know have that same concern. I sincerely believe that the new Democratic Party can balance the economy, balance energy needs, and protect the environment, and grow a clean energy economy. It's something that I'm extremely interested in and want to make sure that I push that agenda forward within the party.
There's discussion about an LNG plant just up there. And I gather from you and Mr. Melamed agreeing that you don't think that's a good idea for British Columbia or for Canada.
I'm not going to go as far as saying it's not good for British Columbia or Canada. I think it's regional specific. So I'm not going to come out and say that LNG is bad, because I don't have all the evidence to
Is it
make
bad
that statement.
for that part of the coast right up there, wood fiber?
Well, I have some real concerns on wood fiber LNG. I have the concerns mainly are environmental, safety, and it doesn't have social license. The communities, the municipalities of West Vancouver, Sunshine Coast, Squamish have all rejected or voiced their concerns, their opposition to wood fiber LNG. The First Nations are still, they put out 23 conditions, I believe it was, for going ahead with this agreement. There's still, we'll see how that plays out. But again, I've been on the coast for 25 years, and it was a cesspool. It was polluted, the wood fiber, Howe Sound. It is finally cleaning up.
There's
so
whales swimming in this body of water today.
Absolutely. And so any industrialization of the Howe Sound has to be scrutinized.
Okay, scrutinized is one thing,
yes.
but stopped cold and no, it must not move off the condition it's in today. Can there not be a marriage of economy and ecology?
Well, I think you're absolutely correct. It has to have that component. You have to build the two components together. It has to be safe for the environment, and it has to be economically viable. And those things go hand in hand. So, but to get to that, you have to have a credible environmental review process, which we don't have. The Conservatives have gutted our environmental review process. The National Energy Board is not credible. It's rubber stamping projects, industrial projects like this. And because of that, it is difficult to support projects like wood fiber or any other developments like Kinder Morgan or anything else, because there is no credibility.
So it's not that you're fundamentally opposed to the concept, it's the execution of this project in this location at this time under these guidelines.
Correct. But further to that, though, I am a strong believer that we have to move off fossil fuel reliance. So in all of these projects have to take into account the GHG emissions, climate change. We have to look at what it's going to do to affect climate change. All of these things have to be built into that regulatory framework to pass any project in any region of British Columbia.
Did you hear anything that you liked here today?
Yes, very much, very much. I think particularly the taking back our country, more peacekeeping, more concern about the average Canadian. I think that the Green Party does have to recognize that in a community like this, we don't have any bus service here. Most of us can't afford electric cars, so therefore we're driving gas-powered automobiles or diesel. And I think that has to be recognized, that in smaller communities, remote communities, you're not going to have the green transportation. It's going to be quite a while.
What are the issues that are important to the residents of Pender Harbour?
I think housing for seniors.
And have you heard anything from any of the candidates that addresses that issue?
Not really. No, I just don't have any comments to make about what I heard.
And are you a decided voter?
I was a decided one until I came today.
And that undecided you?
It's made me think.
I'm sitting on the fence right now on which way I'm going to go.
What are the issues for people of this part of the Sunshine Coast?
Transportation, communication, future of energy, seniors. Our average age here is 58.7 years. We need to be doing a better job of taking care of our seniors, providing them with housing. We need to develop an economy that allows young people who are here to stay here and raise families here. It's a beautiful area.
Is that not currently the case? People have to leave to find work?
People have to leave to find work, and that's extremely sad. It breaks up families. We would like to see the ferry fares come down to something reasonable. For my children to visit me costs them $100 a visit. That's a pretty high tariff on just keeping a family together.
Were you disappointed that you only got 50% of the candidates in the riding attending the meeting?
Well, I was disappointed, but I wasn't surprised.
Why is that?
Because it shows how interested they are in smaller community, in rural communities.
We're just walking along the street, saying hi, talking to people, on the federal level.
Pam Goldsmith-Jones spent 2 terms as the mayor of West Vancouver. Now she's running for the Liberals.
What have you been doing since you left the mayor's chair?
I opened my own consulting business, mostly working with local government and regional government and business to understand one another's strategic goals. And also I went to SFU and did an executive MBA in Aboriginal business and leadership.
Oh, that's pretty impressive. So is it a natural progression to go from the mayoralty office to run for federal office? Is it a campaign or a career move that would be logical?
For sure, my track record and proven experience is going to be helpful in Ottawa, taking our concerns to Ottawa. But it wasn't what I was planning on. It's just that you build up so many important relationships at the local level with the provincial and federal governments, with First Nations, and our country needs to, be, in my view, needs to capitalize on those relationships, because this government severs relationships and it's not serving Canada well.
So were you drafted by the Liberals, or did you step forward and say, please, may I be a
I think it was
candidate?
mutual. I went to the convention never having been involved formally in a political party before. I went to the Montreal Convention in February 2014 just to see. I was so impressed. There were probably 3,000 citizens, not a lot of politicians, citizens stepping up to do a better job of the leadership of Canada. And then when I got home, back to Vancouver, Justin Trudeau made an appointment with me and spent an hour or so with me talking about what the opportunities are. And then I had to go through the open nomination process like anybody else.
But your name recognition, the fact that you've served the people of West Vancouver with distinction for a number of years, that certainly has to be a huge advantage for you, doesn't it?
I think it's a help for sure for my campaign, and I think it's good for the Liberal Party. We're attracting an incredible team of candidates experienced in many fields. Very exciting. I think we have a dynamic and disciplined and forward-thinking leader of the Liberal Party, which is attracting young people, it's attracting great candidates, and then that coupled with my experience, which I think is the best of all the candidates in our riding, will be enough for us to succeed on October the 19th. You're kidding me.
They just
You're
left,
kidding.
so I took a
I'm
picture
Pam.
and
What's
said,
your
nice
name?
to meet you. Sent it to Tara.
Hi. Oh, that's really
Always
funny.
talking
I'm
about
Pam.
me.
Hi, nice to meet you. Hi, nice to meet you too. Hi, everybody. You know what's really funny is that you may have met Macy and Tucker. Tara is out door knocking for the campaign in Horseshoe Bay right now. Well, fundamentally, the concerns on people's minds, and I've knocked on thousands of doors, are restoring democracy to Canada. People care about the scientists being able to express their views, their evidence-based views. They care about the independence of the judiciary. They care about electoral reform and Senate reform and the right of an MP to speak up for their riding. People are very concerned about the environment. It's been a dark decade under the Conservative Party, and we are looking for representation throughout the riding to provide protection for the environment. And they're very concerned about our economy, which is completely stalled. So whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're on a fixed income as a pensioner, people are genuinely concerned about what will it take to stimulate our economy.
John Weston is the incumbent member of Parliament for the riding. He won by a comfortable margin in the last election, and he's working hard to retain his seat.
It's great to be here with you, and I thank you all for coming. And I think it's important to acknowledge our two official languages, while we use a language that is maybe better known to some of us, Mandarin. 因为我的父母亲他们以前就在亚洲90年，他们教我很多跟亚洲有关。Throughout this great riding, there's an emphasis on families. You have hard-working people who are taking care of children and parents in many situations. People who care about the economy. And certainly one of the issues that keeps coming up is the question of taxes. What I'm seeing in this election is that people understand the Conservatives' commitment to lower taxes, something that has fueled an economy at a time in our history when there's considerable economic fragility around the world. And we see that this country has done very well. We have lots more we can do. But one of the keys, of course, is lower taxes.
How do you balance the two? The economy and the environment. Sometimes they tend to knock heads.
You see a real distinction between my opponents, me, on the economy, on taxes, and on the environment. On taxes, all the other parties, all my opponents would say we're going to raise taxes, put more money in the pockets of bureaucrats, as opposed to where I think the funds should be, in the hands of Canadians who know what to do with it. When it comes to the environment, there's this sense that the environment is a stop agent, that somehow because we live in this magnificent place that we shouldn't touch it, that we should reject any sense of economic development. That's what my opponents would say. For my part, I say the environment is the economy, that we have developed a culture of continuous improvement, minimizing our inputs in land, air, water, energy, showing the world how we can be world-class environmental stewards while we continue the prosperity that comes from economic development.
Well, let me ask you a specific question then. There is a proposed LNG plant for wood fiber up at the top end of Howe Sound by Squamish. I know two of your opponents are pretty steadfastly opposed to that going ahead. What's John Weston say?
Well, my opponents are against this, and I support the LNG as an industry. Liquefied natural gas is a way that we can improve the environment around the world. Do you know, Dave, that if we take one coal-fired plant off the market in China, that's like taking 500,000 cars off the streets permanently. So we can make a real improvement in the world's environment by fostering a clean burning energy like natural gas.
There is a fifth person seeking election in the riding of West Vancouver-Sunshine Coast-Sea to Sky Country, and her name is Carol Lee Chapman. Ms. Chapman is representing the Marxist-Leninist Party in the riding. We requested an interview with Ms. Chapman, however, she was unable to accommodate our request.
I'm concerned with the whole government.
And what are you going to do about it?
I don't know, haven't decided yet.
You will vote, though?
I guess I will.
I feel no matter what we do, it'll just status quo remains the same, not a lot of great change. Bunch of blither from all of them.
I'm happy with the way Harper is running the government because we really didn't feel as much of an impact through the recession. We kind of came through the recession without even knowing we were in it. That's the way I feel, and I feel he's doing a great job.
So he'll continue to have your support?
Oh, he will, for sure.
I'm for the Green Party, no one is interested.
You're the what?
The Green Party.
Green Party has your support. Thank you. Which party is going to speak for the senior citizens?
Well, I hear several parties vying for the honor, trying to get the seniors on side.
Very important block of votes.
Oh, well, we are. We're the biggest, almost, and the most vocal.
And do you have an opinion of which party that might be?
I have an opinion, but I'm not sharing it with you.
Fair enough. Thank you.
I've watched a couple of the debates. It's just too much talking and not enough to make any decisions on yet.
All right, so you're undecided.
Undecided.
Well, I think the issue is of a change in government, because I think there have been lots of indications of the difficulty with the Harper government and what they've been doing. My problem is all these promises that all the politicians all the leaders are making. Like, I don't know whether it's true or not. I mean, I don't know whether they're going to bankrupt us with all these promises of money here, money there, 100 million, 1 billion, whatever it is. And then, given the present economic climate, that's going to be a challenge.
There's a multitude of issues, but the one thing that I'm hearing from most constituents is that they really want to get rid of Stephen Harper and the Conservatives. And I guess that's, if you're looking at the polls, I mean, that's perhaps 70% of the electorate. I hear that over and over. We want to get rid of Stephen Harper and the Conservatives. We're concerned about our environment, we're concerned about the economy, and we're concerned about the demise of our parliamentary democracy and the erosion of our democratic system.
You know, here on the coast, there's a lot of back-to-the-land farmers. Pemberton's got a lot of organic farmers. People in West Vancouver, more urban context, but we are finding common interests. And you know what? The predominating thing is we need a change in government. Canada needs a change in government.
And yet, West Vancouver, traditionally where the bulk of the population in the riding is a conservative seat.
Well, it's been conservative and it's been liberal. What we're finding on the doorstep is a lot of those longtime party faithful are prepared to look to other parties. The message is starting to get across that the traditional ways of doing things haven't been working. It's time to look for something different.
I wouldn't say that the Harper government is going to enjoy another mandate from the Canadian people. And I think that this is a riding that is a swing riding now, not a safe seat for the Conservative Party. That's acknowledged both in British Columbia and right across the country. And that's because the Liberal Party platform is good, our leader is strong, I'm offering experience, and I think we're, frankly, the campaign to beat.
But I have seen in your riding, someone has gone to the trouble of putting up signs that say, anyone but Conservative. And I sense that there may be a bit of fatigue with Mr. Harper and the Conservative. It's like, to use the hockey analogy, the coach, maybe on a Stanley Cup winning coach, but after a while, the players start tuning him out and you, so to speak, lose the room. Are you hearing that on the doorsteps that, you know what, it's really, maybe it's time for somebody else to take a turn?
Prime Minister Stephen Harper has presided over an economy that's created 1.3 million new jobs since 2009. Each one of those job holders is someone who's taking home a paycheck, somebody who's feeding a family, and creating those government revenues that offer social and economic benefits to our society and help pay for a $150 billion price tag for our healthcare system every year. That is a sign of great success that is acknowledged around the world. He's also been in office for 9 years, so if he's made 1,000 decisions, then sure enough, the people will disagree with 100. Any thinking person would. But that doesn't mean that a thinking person should dwell in the 100 decisions, the minority of decisions where they have some disagreement. It's tempting to do that sometimes. And then there's other people who say, you know, I really like that guy, and maybe they name Justin. Justin's a likable guy. We can all agree with that. But does that mean we want him to be in charge of our enterprise, make decisions for our children or grandchildren, or run a $1.9 trillion G7 economy? I don't think so. So I won't be voting Liberal in this election. And I certainly won't be voting for a leader who says he's going to separate my country if there's a 50% plus one vote to do so. And that's Thomas Mulcair. He's an intelligent human being, but I disagree with him on that. I disagree fundamentally. I also disagree with both of them that they would raise taxes and use deficits to fund their spend schemes. That's what distinguishes me from my opponents. I'm for keeping the taxes low, for investing in our fragile economy, and making those jobs grow. That's what allows us to stand strong as Canadians, to protect our environment, to stand up for human rights at home and abroad, to settle refugees from around the world, to do the things that we do so well as Canadians. So I think Stephen Harper is the strongest leader, and most people in this riding, I do believe, agree with me.
Flowing hearts we see rise, our true North strong and free.
An election is, by definition, a contest with winners and losers. But perhaps it bears repeating that we must never lose sight of the bigger picture.
I hope this thing comes together, you know, maybe together with each other, because this is Canada, and we need everyone together. And Canada is the best country in the world.